It was a stormy evening in the heart of the city, the kind of night when neon lights blurred with raindrops and people hurried home to escape the biting cold. But Alexander Hale, known to the world as the ruthless CEO of Hale Industries, walked slowly, lost in thoughts that no boardroom could silence. His life was built on precision, control, and a strict routine, yet nothing felt stable inside him since he became a single father. His little daughter, Lily, was the only softness left in his world, and though he protected her fiercely, he couldn't always shield her from the loneliness that followed their quiet life. As he turned into a narrow street, the wind pushing against his coat, he suddenly heard small footsteps running toward him, fast and trembling. He spun around, instinct already trained by fatherhood, and saw a tiny girl, soaked, barefoot, no older than Lily, sprinting straight at him with tears streaming down her face. Sir, please, help, Mommy can't walk," she gasped, pulling at his coat with tiny shaking hands. Shock ripped through him. He crouched instantly, steadying her shoulders. "Where is your mom?" he demanded gently but urgently, and without waiting for her to answer, he followed the direction of her trembling finger. The girl led him deep into a shadowy alley behind old brick buildings where the streetlights barely reached. There, beneath a rusted fire escape, he saw a woman collapsed on the ground. Her hair clung to her face from the rain, her breathing shallow, her clothes worn. The CEO, accustomed to commanding armies of employees, felt something inside him break open. He rushed forward, kneeling beside her, noticing bruises, exhaustion, and a desperate attempt to stay conscious despite pain that twisted her features. The little girl dropped beside her mother and held her limp hand. "Mommy, please wake up. I found help. I found him," she cried softly. The woman's eyes fluttered open just enough to whisper, I didn't want her to be alone. Please, don't let them take her." Alexander didn't know who they were, but he knew one thing: this woman needed immediate help. Without hesitation, he slid his arms under her fragile body and lifted her gently, surprised at how light she was, how cold. She winced, but he tightened his hold, whispering, "I've got you. You're safe now." The little girl held onto his coat as they stepped out of the alley, her small feet splashing through puddles. The whole world seemed to blur except for this strange trio: an injured mother, a terrified daughter, and a powerful man who had spent years avoiding emotional entanglements but now couldn't walk away. As he hurried toward his car, something unexpected stirred inside him, a protective instinct stronger than anything he'd felt in years. When he laid the woman carefully in the back seat, covering her with his coat, the girl climbed beside her and gripped her hand tightly. Alexander glanced at them through the rear-view mirror, heart pounding, a man who thought he had built walls too high for fate to reach, yet here fate was, sitting injured in his car, changing everything. And as he drove them through the rain toward help, he didn't know that this moment, this alley, this woman, this child, would draw him into a story more powerful and life-changing than any corporate battle he had ever fought. The hospital lights buzzed softly overhead as Alexander paced the hallway, shirt soaked with rain, hands clenched in a mixture of worry and something much deeper, a feeling he didn't dare name. Lily, his own daughter, had woken from a nap and now stood quietly beside him, slipping her small hand into his. "Daddy, is she gonna be okay?" she asked, her voice full of innocent hope. He knelt, brushing her hair back lovingly. "I'm doing everything I can, sweetheart." But the truth was, he wasn't prepared for the flood of responsibility he felt for a stranger. A nurse finally emerged with the little girl, Maya, who had been bathed, wrapped in warm clothes, and offered food. "She's stable," the nurse said, "but exhausted, malnourished, and emotionally stressed. Her daughter hasn't left her side." Alexander thanked her, but his heart twisted painfully as he imagined what they must have endured. When he entered the room, he found the woman, Ariana, propped up with pillows, her eyes heavy but open, watching Maya sleep curled against her. She looked up at him, startled to see the man who had carried her through the storm standing silently at her door. "I didn't get to thank you," she whispered, her voice fragile. "You saved us." He shook his head. "I just did what anyone should do." But she smiled sadly. Not everyone would have stopped. He didn't argue. Instead, he pulled up a chair, feeling an unfamiliar urge to understand who she was and what danger she had hinted at. Slowly, over hours, her story unfolded, a story of a woman who fled an abusive environment, protecting her daughter with everything she had, working odd jobs, hiding, sleeping in shelters, and finally collapsing under the weight of exhaustion and fear. As she spoke, her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. Maya clung to her mother even in sleep, as if afraid she might disappear. Alexander's chest tightened with anger, not at her, but at the world that had cornered her into suffering alone. And then, somewhere between her words and the silence that followed, he realized something shocking: he didn't want her to leave. He, the man who trusted almost no one, felt protective of this woman and her child as if they were already part of his world. Lily, drawn by an instinct only children have, climbed onto the bed and hugged Maya, whispering, "You can stay with us, Daddy helps everybody." Ariana blinked in confusion, glancing at him. "We don't have anywhere to go," she admitted. "But I can't be a burden." Alexander leaned forward, voice firm yet gentle. "You and your daughter are not a burden. You're safe with me. Stay as long as you need." Tears slipped down her cheeks, and for the first time in years, she felt seen, protected. Days passed, and slowly, healing found its way into their lives. Alexander arranged for a secure place for them, helped Maya enroll in school, and supported Ariana as she rebuilt her confidence. What began as a stormy night rescue grew into a quiet bond, two families slowly becoming one. Maya adored Alexander, Lily adored Ariana, and even the house seemed warmer with laughter finally echoing through its halls. And though neither of them rushed the unspoken feelings blooming between them, there was something undeniable, something deeper than gratitude or compassion. It was connection, healing, destiny, and every time Ariana looked at him, she remembered the moment he carried her out of the alley, the moment her life changed forever.